But there we see the match that we will focus on, an accelerated dragon in the game between Giri and Bluebaum. Giri and Abasov, Peter. Strange, not a common guest at the top level.
Yes, but it's kind of some anti-Sveshnikov move order, right? Because that explains it. Here white and Anish goes for h3. Okay, so to me it seems that Anish is getting surprised all the time in the opening. This isn't the setup. Usually here black goes knight a5, takes that bishop on b3, goes b6, queen d7, bishop b7, and has a very comfortable position.
And no matter what he does, right, whether he plays e4 or d4, that's what's frustrating about it. He can't seem to escape Abasov's opening surprises. And in every one of these unorthodox openings, Abasov, he's not just playing something random to throw both of them off. He actually seems to be prepared idea-wise. And again, Anish Giri is the first to take a longer think.
Yeah, and this is a position where Anish has zero experience. I mean, usually you would say that Anish knows every position. Yes, he knows, but he also knows that this is perfectly fine for black. And there you go. Black gets this b6, bishop b7. He's going to go queen d7. It's a super solid construction.
Is there a case to be made for the maneuver knight d7, knight c5, or knight e5? Or does black keep the knight on f6 to exert more pressure on the e4 pawn?
Yeah, I think that it stays on f6 because sometimes if you go knight d7, white goes bishop g5 and then gets active with knight d5. You really want to keep control of the d5 square.
And so the move a6 also comes to mind. Typical Sicilian expansion of a6 and b5.
Exactly. Also a6, queen b8, rook d8, e6. I mean, just try to be as flexible as possible.
And white has no clear plan of improvement. And he has gone knight d7.
Okay, Anish is very happy. Of course. Now I think Anish is very happy. He's relieved. Okay, first of all, his opponent lost control with knight d7, also signaling that he isn't that familiar with this position. And he goes knight c5. He wants to take on d4, go knight e6, but this will be simply worse.
Terrible. Not a terrible position, but the knight is clearly superior to the bishop. Maybe he just thought, I'll get the knight to c5 first, and I'll think later. But on top of knight d5 now being unpleasant, there is also the more canonical idea bishop h6, and black does not want to part ways with his dark squared bishop here. This was a serious positional mistake to get the knight to c5.
Yeah, and also we have seen Anish immediately moving around his chair. He feels that somehow black lost the control. Yeah, not just bishop h6, rook ad1, straightforward play, simple play. And if it's simple moves in a blitz game, you can improve your position. That's a dream.
Black has a rather spicy idea in the form of e7, e5, and that might be what the doctor ordered for Abasov, because if he plays a couple passive moves, well, Anish is going to get his rook into the center, his knight into d5. I think this e5, f5 idea, kind of like Musard tried to do against Wesley in his must-win position, might be something interesting to mix the position up.
Yes, it's basically black's only way to justify what he has done with knight d7, knight c5. Strategically, it was very risky, but if he gets this e5, f5 in, and he also gets access to the e6 square for his knight, then he can get serious counterplay.
Anish investing a serious amount of time as he falls behind on the clock. Bishop h6, the obvious move, but he keeps the status quo and keeps his options open by centralizing his rook.
Yeah, making also discouraging black from going e5 because of knight db5, and then the pawn on d6 will fall. And if black plays a6 at any moment, then the b6 square gets weakened.
Indeed. And now it's Abasov's turn to make an important decision. He can kick the can down the road with a neutral move like rook ac8, but not forever, because white is already prepared to play knight d5 in a big decision. Forcing the knights off the board is Nijat Abasov, and I think bishop h6 is automatic here to get this superior knight versus somewhat awkward bishop situation.
Yes, I mean, it's of course a very solid position for black, but one really feels that white can torture black. And what else do you ask for? Yeah, bishop h6 trade, rook d4. You start reinforcing the pieces somewhere. Knight d5. You might even fall back with the queen to d2, and just build up the pressure.
And no risk. You can chill out. White is minimally risking. Everything's defended. So in a high tension, high anxiety situation, you want a position like this where you can make a lot of moves quickly, and the price of a mistake is very low for white. Yeah, white can make it an accuracy. It's not going to change the fundamental nature of the position. If black accidentally allows knight d5 in the wrong version or plays a6 and weakens b6, the situation could go from, slightly suspicious to really, really bad.
Exactly, very well put. Now we are seeing rook d4, queen d2. That was exactly the maneuver I was talking about. White will be ready to jump with the knight to d5. Eventually, white can even improve the position with rook e1 to e3, just to make sure that never any rook takes c2 unexpected tactics could ever work. And by the way, white also still has f4, f5 idea at some point. Of course, you don't need to, but just important to have it in mind.
Quick update, Matthias Bluebaum is losing. Matthias Bluebaum is collapsing with white against Vidit. Should we go for no more than 30 seconds to that other game? Because I think we might get a result there very shortly, and we will, we promise. Here we go. The last move, b4. Anish meeting Abasov at the top, trying to isolate the b5 pawn. Look at this. And wait a second. The eval bar hates that move.
Yeah, well, I mean, already the last... Wow, rook c4 is possible. Oh my god, yeah, takes it on the board.
And Giri assumed that black has to take on b4, and that was the mistake, because now, if white plays rook takes c4 and ba, the move b4, Peter, causes white's position to completely collapse. White will lose everything. e4, b2, a5, and the bishop on b7 becomes a monster. Oh my gosh.
Yes, this is a stunning development because white lost the control. It looked very nice, looked like risk-free, and all of a sudden after rook c4 the position collapses and the stability of the knight on c6, that was the key, and this is what white is losing now.
Unbelievable. And Anish made a couple of slightly too cavalier moves. He didn't nurture his advantage. He let black get his rooks doubled on the c file and his queen centralized on e5, and now he's paying the price for it. b4 was only the latest in a series of inaccurate moves, culminating in a big mistake, and he's now down to a minute on the clock. He is objectively borderline lost. He has to trade and take on a5. I don't see an alternative. Perhaps he can throw in the move f4, but that might have the opposite effect of weakening his position even more.
Yeah, but he has to do it. f4, queen e6.
Now what?
And if he loses this game, then he's out of the World Cup.
The winner of this game advances. The loser is out of the World Cup. 1 second ago, we thought Giri was running no risk whatsoever. Now he is objectively lost on the board and a minute down on the clock. He needs a miracle. And he's given up b4.
Yeah, okay, rook takes b4, rook e1, trying to hang on to the pawn, but the rook on b4 cannot be trapped. The pawn on e4 is hanging. Black has all kinds of possibilities here.
You do have to watch out for knight a2 at some moment. That move is very easy to miss. The knight jump to a2 has to be monitored carefully.
Okay, so he wants to trade queens with queen c5. That's what I'm guessing, yeah? The move. Queen c8 signals this.
Queen c5, and then he will get a free hand in the endgame. 25 seconds for Anish. He's about to move his king to h2. And a4. Make that passer.
Yeah, there was an argument already in the previous move, but if he plays queen c8, he's gonna go queen c5.
And does Giri trade queens? I think he has to. Where else would he go?
Yeah, takes rook a1. Try to hope that you liquidate into some bad endgame, but maybe holdable.
8 seconds for Anish. He's investing the rest of his time here, trying to find the best saving chances. 3 seconds. 2, 1. He's got to move. He's going to flag, and he flagged.
My god. Oh my god, he froze completely.
Froze and dropped his queen, but you cannot make a move with 1 second on the clock, and Nijat Abasov will not even have to show any technique. He defeats Anish Giri, knocking him out of the World Cup with the black pieces. Improbable, given the position that they just had.
Yes, and just in a couple of moves.